Hey everyone, welcome in Makeshift Managers Podcast. As you can see, I am by myself tonight. Only one ugly mug for you to stare at the whole night. Devin unfortunately got called in to work, so it's just kind of on me to give you a quick little recap of Super Wild Card Weekend. Look ahead to Divisional Weekend in a much shorter time span than it would be me and Devin going back and forth. So I'm just going to get right into it, talk about it a little bit, and hopefully Devin will be back next week and we talk about divisional round and all this and all that. So just first, we're going to start with the matchup that kind of had probably the biggest just biggest talent gap, I would say, between the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks had them not reeling, but they were toe to toe with the Niners through the first half. 17, they led them 17-16 at halftime, but the Niners kind of did what they do and kind of ran away with it with 25 second half points, 18 in the fourth quarter alone. Brock Purdy, 18 for 30 for 332 yards, almost 18 and a half yards per completion. It's insane. He has been the game manager that Kyle Shanahan has needed. Just really goes to show how this Trey Lance pick probably isn't going to work out for them, but boy, having the last pick in the draft work out for you was pretty great for the San Francisco 49ers. They balled out. McCaffrey, 15 carries for 119 yards. What more can you say about Christian McCaffrey? He is that dude when he is healthy. Easily one of the best skill position players in the game. Debo, he's back. I know he was back a couple weeks ago, but 6 for 133. Just that dude, yards after catch. He is so good and so great for this team. Gino capping off a great year with a decent performance against a really tough defense. I got to hand it to Gino. Everybody thought that the Seattle Seahawks were going to be terrible this year, maybe win 5 games. He took them to the playoffs. Unfortunately, they had to face the 2 seed. 25 for 35, 253, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Not too bad for Gino. Kenneth Walker, 63 yards on 15 carries and a touchdown. Honestly, funny enough, one of the better running back performances against the best rushing defense in the league. Seattle has nothing to be ashamed of as they go into this offseason. They have a top pick from Denver. They have their own pick. So they should still have a very good first round, be able to build this team more. And if they sign Gino, they may be right back at it next season. So don't count them out just yet, but San Francisco is the juggernaut next to Philadelphia in this NFC playoffs. They are just that good. And it's just tough to get through them. And they're going to be tough to get through for just about anybody. Um, what can I say about what happened Saturday night? Unfortunately, Devin's not here. He is the Chargers fan. So I would be sitting back right now for about a half hour while Devin just lets it all out. Now he's come to peace with it, as much peace as you can come with it. A 27-0 lead at one point, 27-7 at halftime, and they lose on a last-minute kick to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who put up 24 second-half points. Look, we talked about it earlier this year of the Los Angeles Chargers just did not make second half adjustments very well. Austin Eckler, 0 rush yards in the second half. That is unacceptable when you have a 20-point lead. The run game never got going, and Joe Lombardi shouldn't have a job. Honestly, Brandon Staley shouldn't have a job, but it sounds like they're going to keep him. Mike Williams was out of this game due to a fractured bone in his back because he played way too many snaps on Sunday against the Broncos in a meaningless game. I think he easily changes the outlook of this game. He is a solid, one of the best wide receiver twos in the game for Justin Herbert. And just, it's unacceptable to see what happened by the Chargers. You can say it, Chargers going to Charger. I believe that's what Devin would definitely say for sure. But this is kind of how it is. They built this team, and Brandon Staley, a defensive-minded coach, never got the defense together. Like, you can say that the offense, was not good in the second half, and you're probably right. They only put up 3 points. But 30 points should win you a game. Most games, it really should win you. 5 turnovers. They produced 5 turnovers, and the offense put up points on those turnovers. But they didn't create any turnovers in the second half. made no stops in the second half. One stop in this game is over. And yes, Austin Eckler should definitely have more than 13 carries for 35 yards. It's not even close. Joshua Kelly, if you don't think Eckler should have gotten that big of a load, then give it to Joshua Kelly. Give it to somebody. Get the run game going, Joe Lombardi. It was ridiculous how that happened. It was just, what can I say, a smorgasbord of things that went wrong for the Chargers, and they just added up, and it let Jacksonville slip by. And now Jacksonville will be the ones heading to Kansas City, in which, honestly, the Chiefs are the juggernaut of the AFC. We all know that, but I'm definitely happier as a Chiefs fan for the Jaguars coming to KC instead of the Chargers, because beating a team 3 times is not the easiest thing in the world, especially a team that would come in hot like the Chargers. And they can go toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs. They've done it before. They've played great games this year. But that is not the case. If Jacksonville can upset KC, it would be wild. It'd be insane to see. I don't think it's going to happen, but stranger things have happened, like a 27-point lead blown, the third biggest blown lead in playoff history. So, Devin, when you're watching this back, I'm sorry, friend. Hopefully the Cowboys can get a win and then go and get beat up by the San Francisco 49ers. That way I can just have a few days of being happy. So we'll see what happens there. You move to Sunday morning, you go to the longest game, what felt like the longest game ever, between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Skylar Thompson versus Josh Allen. This goes to show that Josh Allen has been a turnover machine this season, way more than he's been all year long. And it went to show that it mattered a lot here. The Bills got out of this 34-31. They got away with it. But Josh Allen threw 2 picks. He lost a fumble that led to a touchdown. There was just, these things can't happen. It kept Skylar Thompson in the game. It kept Miami in the game for the longest time. I don't know if Miami wins this if Tua Tagovailoa is at quarterback. It's just a completely different game, and the way the game is managed through Tua than it is with Skylar. But it just kind of shows what this AFC East is going to look like for the next 5 to 10 years. The Jets are up and coming if they find a quarterback. Miami is kind of right there with them, and the Bills are still the juggernaut of the AFC East. And the Patriots, are still the Patriots. They still make noise somehow under Bill Belichick. So this AFC East is going to be wild over the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be a freaking bar fight every single year. But Miami, unfortunately, did not come out on top here for Miami fans. They will go home because they could not get to the Bills. But I wouldn't go with your heads down. They played a hell of a game under a third-string quarterback, and really everyone counted it out. This was going to, including myself, I thought it was going to be a slaughter. I thought it was going to be a beatdown, and it wasn't. It was probably one of the better playoff games. Honestly, all these games were really good this weekend, but you just can't count anybody out. Skylar Thompson, 8 for 45, though, is not going to get it done for only 200 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Skylar Thompson really couldn't afford to turn the ball over, and in the end, the turnovers is kind of what got him the loss. If he was able to manage it to no picks, then maybe they win this game, but Skylar Thompson had little to no room for error against the Buffalo Bills. And even though Josh Allen was turning the ball over at a high rate, Skylar Thompson kind of met him right there with him, and you just can't give extra possessions to teams like the Buffalo Bills. So now the Bills will take on Sunday night's winner, which we'll get to. Kirk Cousins and the Vikings go down already to the New York Giants. After I've looked over everything and looked at this game again, it's kind of what we've seen from the Vikings all season. Their defense sucks. Their defense is not good. Their offensive line has been very shoddy all year long. And Kirk Cousins faced nearly 50% of pressure. Almost no quarterbacks can succeed when they're facing pressure half of the time. He faced, I believe it was 68 to 70% against Dallas, and we all know how that turned out. It's just, you can't do anything under pressure. And shout out to Brian Daboll and the New York Giants. Brian Daboll has taken a 3-14 team, and he's on to the divisional round to face his divisional rivals in the Philadelphia Eagles. They have played the short game well all year, despite all the injuries to wide receivers, basically having the weakest wide receiver room in the league. They play the short game well. Saquon Barkley is healthy. Daniel Jones knows how to use his legs, and the Giants defense is just good enough. And that's all that really matters. We're able to get in there, and they were able to win 31-24. You want to talk about how this is Kirk Cousins' fault? 31 for 39, 8 incompletions, 8 for 273 and 2 touchdowns. He didn't turn the ball over. He didn't fumble, I believe. No fumbles, no turnovers. Kirk Cousins, we live in a world now of NFL football where the best defenses aren't winning a lot of championships anymore. This isn't Trent Dilfer and the Baltimore Ravens back in the 2000s. It just isn't that way anymore. You have to lean on your quarterback like Mahomes and Allen and Burrow. And for the Rams last season, their defense did well, but in the end, Stafford and Kupp got it done. And their defense held up just enough. But you're playing these shootout type games on the regular. 24 points is nothing to shake a stick at. But the Giants scored more. They scored 31 because Minnesota's defense couldn't hold anything back. Saquon Barkley, he only had 9 carries, but he had 53 yards. Daniel Jones had 17 carries for 78 yards, and a lot of them were for first downs. The Giants were 7 for 13 on third down, and I think at one point that was 7 for 8. Minnesota could not get off the field when it came to defense, and that cost them 28 first downs compared to 21 for the Giants. The Giants were 2 for 2 on fourth down. They ran 12 more plays. They punted less. They had a few more penalties, but they won time of possession by over 7 minutes, and that matters. Kirk Cousins has gotten away with a lot this year. The Minnesota Vikings were the heart attack kids for a reason, 11-0 in one-score games in the regular season, and now they're 11-1 at the worst time possible in a one-score game. But I can't put this on Kirk Cousins. You look back at the last play of the game when he threw it 3 yards on a 4th and 8. Dexter Lawrence is in his face. He had KJ Osborne. He was going to throw to KJ Osborne, but Dexter Lawrence forced him to make a quick throw, a bad decision, and it ended the Viking season. Kirk Cousins is not the reason why the Minnesota Vikings lost this game. Kirk Cousins has played well all year. He played well last year. He just isn't the guy. He isn't the elite guy that's going to get you to the next level. He's going to get you to a decent record, but he was playing from behind a lot last year. He played from behind a lot this year. He had 8 game-winning drives this year. He had to put together a lot of shit all year long for them to win games and for them to be in games. Kirk Cousins was a killer this season. He fed Justin Jefferson like an animal. But in the end, you want him to get that game-winning drive. You want him to get there. But just because he didn't get it this time doesn't mean it's his fault that they lost. Even if he got a game-tying drive, you go to overtime, or maybe the Giants even score again, and you don't even go to overtime. I'm not going to defend Kirk Cousins all day, but I feel like he gets way too much of the blame. Is there some blame? Sure. Maybe he could have put the game-winning drive together. Maybe he should have. Maybe Mahomes should have, or maybe Allen should have, or maybe Burrow should have. It's a shoulda, woulda, coulda type thing. In the end, his defense is not good, and he constantly has to play in these shootouts. And sometimes you're not going to win those shootouts, and they've won a lot of them this season. But against the Giants, who have been playing well and are coached by easily, in my opinion, the coach of the year in Brian Daboll, coaching matters. And in the end, Brian Daboll was the better coach in this situation. He put a better game plan together. They got to the quarterback, and they made Cousins make bad decisions. The Giants will move on and play the Philadelphia Eagles. The Vikings need to get some defensive help. That's kind of where they need to be. I believe that's the next step for the Minnesota Vikings. There's nothing wrong with their offense. Kevin O'Connell's a great offensive mind. We saw it all season. They finished 13-4. That is great. I will take a 13-4 finish every single year. Obviously, being knocked out of the playoffs is not fun. I'm a Cowboys fan. We're knocked out of the playoffs every year in the first round. Welcome to my life. But it's the defense. It's as simple as that. They can't replace Kirk Cousins at this very moment with anybody better. They just don't have access to that. So they got to figure out how to get off the field on third downs. That needs to be the next step for the Minnesota Vikings. For the Giants, they're well coached. They're going against a tough team in Philadelphia, but they know this team well. A lot of their backups played their first starters really well in week 18. It'll be a very interesting game. For the nightcap, the Bengals played the Ravens. This game is super frustrating to me because I thought the Ravens were going to get away with it. I really did. They haven't had Lamar for 5-6 weeks now. They've been throwing out Tyler Huntley. They've been throwing out Anthony Brown. Tyler Huntley, 17 for 29, 226, 2 touchdowns and a pick. But the real storylines behind J.K. Dobbins, 13 carries for 62 yards, but no carries inside of the 5. I don't understand the mindset that is Greg Roman and John Harbaugh. They live on the running game, and yet they don't give it to their best back when it's time to score. Instead, they go from a full yard to try and get over the top. Now, I've heard that it was Tyler Huntley's decision to go over the top, and he was supposed to go under. But either way, the QB sneak should not have been a play to start with from the 1. That's a 4th down type of call, or at least get a little bit closer than 1 full yard. Have you ever stood on a football field, a professional football field? A yard is a long way away. It is very long. And Tyler Huntley is not this big, imposing guy who's going to push through everyone. He weighs 200 pounds, if that. He's a skinny guy. He's not going to get through these linebackers. And we saw that. He tried to reach over, got pushed out of his hand, and that ended up costing him the game. That ended up being what mattered the most. The Ravens could have easily got out of here with a win. And they could easily be going to Kansas City right now. And it's not particularly close that they could have got away with this because their defense only gave up 24 points. Their defense played really well against one of the best offenses in the league. And I'm not gonna back down from that. 24 points is a lot of points. It's a good amount of points. But against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Mixon, that's pretty good. And one of them was a defensive touchdown. So realistically, they gave up 17 points to Joe Burrow. That could win you a game any day of the week. But you got the whole Lamar debacle going on. John Harbaugh seems to – these calls get weirder and weirder. And Greg Roman probably shouldn't have a job. Him and Joe Lombardi should be in the unemployment line by tomorrow. These offensive coordinators make the weirdest calls, man. And it just doesn't make sense. And J.K. Dobbins is pissed that he didn't get carries, and rightfully so. He deserves the carries. He should be in the end zone. The Ravens should have won this game. But they blew it. They blew it. There's no reason why the Ravens shouldn't be going to Kansas City right now. They could have knocked off the Bengals and got away with an upset. But instead, these stupid play calls over and over that cost them multiple games this season. John Harbaugh's not getting fired anytime soon. He's tenured in that spot, it feels like. The Lamar Jackson debacle needs to get figured out first. Are they trading him? Are they signing him? Frankly, I don't think they can let him walk away. The entire offense is built around Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson is not a Baltimore Raven, then the Baltimore Ravens do not exist. Their defense is good now. They have them young now, and they need Lamar Jackson now if they want to win now. Nobody else is going to get them to that spot besides Lamar Jackson, who is available. Obviously, Mahomes, Allen, blah, 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 blah. But anybody available, Lamar Jackson is the best guy on the board. And the Ravens have the distinct advantage of being able to talk to him first. Write a blank check. Lamar Jackson to be a Raven next year. If he's not, then the Ravens are going to be the worst team in the AFC North for years to come, while the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Browns walk all over them. For the Bengals, they did it. Their defense came up with the big play when it mattered the most, and it held up towards the end. Joe Burrow, 23 for 32, 209 and a touchdown. They lost the fumble, but the Ravens turned it over one extra time, a pick, and that fumble that mattered the most. The Bengals ran less plays. They lost time of possession by almost 5 minutes. Um, the Bengals lost in almost every facet of the game. Less total yards, less passing yards, less rushing yards, less yards per play. The Ravens threw this one away. It's as simple as that. Props to the Bengals for winning. I'm not going to take anything away from them. But the Ravens need to figure it out. Greg Roman's got to go. It's been in my Twitter feed all year. Like, Greg Roman's got to go. Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator next season. The Ravens should just pack up and be done, because this will be the same result again. Can they get to the playoffs? Sure. They could. They're talented enough. But they're not going to get by the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Bills. They're not going to get the prize that they want. They'll get a consolation trophy. As for tonight's game, the Cowboys and the Buccaneers are literally kicking off right now. Go Dallas. I don't know how to feel about this game. It's Tom Brady. He's never lost to Dallas. Dak Prescott looked awful last week. He's 1-3 in the playoffs. Make all the jokes you want. I hope we can win this game. But to be honest with you, whoever wins this game is going to get their heads kicked in by the San Francisco 49ers. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I'd love to see Dallas win and not be a one and done, because I'm tired of it. I really am. The Bucs have not been good all season long for the most part. Yeah, they blew up against the Panthers, but, so did a lot of other teams. So we'll see. The Monday Night Football game is a joke. It's a distinct disadvantage for either team going against the Niners. The Niners will get 7 full days of rest and practice. Either team that wins this game will get 5. It's a money grab. It's Troy and Joe's way of getting another game. Granted, I know they did it last year, but this game just doesn't need to exist. You play 3 on Saturday, you play 3 on Sunday. It's as simple as that. It just really shouldn't be that way. And already Dallas looks terrible on offense with 2 weird-ass play calls. So maybe it'll be a nice early night for us, and I can just go cry by myself in a corner. I'll have more analysis next week, because obviously the game is just starting and I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm not the most confident Dallas fan in the world, I'll tell you that. So for next week, the Eagles take on the Giants. Obviously, I'll pick the Eagles, but the Giants are playing everybody hard. If we're talking about the Giants winning next week, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I believe San Francisco will defeat either one of these football teams, whether it be Tampa Bay or Dallas, as Dallas goes 3 and out in 13 seconds. So, the Chiefs, I think, should beat the Jaguars. They played a good game in the regular season, but it's just there's a large gap of talent between Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes. And Trevor Lawrence is very talented, but Patrick Mahomes is out of this world. And whatever he needs to get done to beat Jacksonville, I believe he will get it done. The Bills will play the Bengals. Obviously, the last time they met up, there was a tragedy, and it's really hard to tell at that point. Yeah, Devin. Hopefully next week, brother. Well, you can go off a little bit, and I'll I don't know what I'm gonna do. This is already looking bad. But where was I? The Bills and the Bengals are, right there in terms of talented offenses and kind of mediocre defenses. Maybe the Bengals have an edge with the way the Bills are beat up right now. For the Bills, keys, it's going to be turnovers. They gave a lot of turnovers to Miami, and it kept Miami in the game. And it made for a spooky game for the Buffalo Bills. You cannot give extra possessions or give possessions away to Joe Burrow and the Bengals. It's as simple as that. If Josh Allen plays the same game he did against Miami, against the Cincinnati Bengals, it'll be a short night for Josh Allen. The Bengals will move on, and they'll play the Chiefs yet again, and maybe even beat the Chiefs again. Who knows? I think that's going to be it. I know kind of short, but there's really no back and forth between me and Devin. Usually what would keep us here, we'd start later. all this and all that. But I felt the need to at least get a recap and kind of let you know where we stand as Tom Brady. Ooh, incomplete. Whew. It's going to be a long night, kids. It's going to be a long night. Be still my beating heart. So I hope everybody has a great week. Enjoyed the game because I won't. We will see you back again on Monday. Always on Twitter at TMSM Podcast. Here on YouTube, TMSM Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. So you can be ready for all the offseason content we have after the Super Bowl draft, dynasty football draft, fantasy drafts. A lot of stuff is going to be planned. Oh, is Brady going down? Oh, is that a holding? We'll see. All right. Before I get distracted too much more, for those who checked in during the live, thanks for checking in. Appreciate you. If you've made it this far on the on-demand, I don't have anything to give you because you're on the other side of the screen, but I love you. I hope you love me back. Anyways, have a great night, everybody. Great week. Get out there and kill it.